In this video, I'm going to use the water cycle or the cycle of water to explain how the paranormal functions. You don't have to read all of this. If you want, you can pause the video and read it. But it comes down to this. There's water in the oceans and seas and also in the big lakes. Though the heat from the sun, the water evaporates and condensates as clouds in the atmosphere. When the clouds become heavy, they become grayish, and eventually the water falls down to the ground, on the soil, and sometimes it falls down as plain water, that's rain, or it falls down in an icy form, that's snow. And there are times the pressure is high in the air and it turns into lightning and thunder because it's magnetically laden over there. And when it falls to the soil, it often falls on the mountain ranges. There it will remain at the top as a snow layer. And the snow layer, it melts and it turns into streams that end up at the sea again. This cycle keeps vegetation on the soil alive, and it's necessary for human life also, besides for animal life. And as a farmer, you should have knowledge of this, especially knowledge of the climate, to adapt to your farming, to your agriculture. Okay, this is this, okay? When it comes to condensation and weather, a low pressure is when there's a lot of evaporation going on and clouds are forming. There's a low pressure because there's a low pressure in the air. When there's high pressure, it's when the air is heavy because this pressure went up, is now coming down. And often there's high pressure, there's a lot of sunlight because the waters in the sky fell down. Here you can see it better explained. Low pressure, a lot of evaporation, cloud forming, clouds become heavy, and that flows towards a high pressure. And in between this, there's a lot of wind and kind of exchange in the atmosphere. Here's a low pressure, high pressure, and it circulates here and there. And that's how climates are formed. That's how climates remain. And as I mentioned before, as farmers, you adapt to the climate. For example, if the climate is a bit cold, then you adapt your crops onto it. If the climate is more warm, like in the Mediterranean or in the Caribbean, you adapt to it also. Why am I explaining this natural cycle to you? Because understand the following. The paranormal doesn't have uniqueness. They don't. They are depraved, but uniqueness they don't have. What they do is they receive inspiration from what Christ has designed, and they pollute it by twisting it around. Now, this is a physical water cycle, and this is how the paranormal functions. Let me show it to you. Okay, this drawing is not one of the best drawings, okay, and when I wrote these things down, my handwriting, I know my handwriting isn't beautiful, but I wrote very fast. Forgive me for that, but it's about the illustration, okay? This is the cycle of society, or the world. This is a state of relief or ease, where people are at ease. Okay? This is what everyone wants. This is what society is promoting. But worldly people or common people, their expectations don't add up because they're not in line with Christ. So those expectations, when they're interacting with one another, it will lead to frustration. And this frustration will lead to friction. So you can see here, there's negative energy that's emitted from them. Because human beings are spirit beings, we emit energy. And when you're not in a healthy state of mind, you generate negative energy. We're just like sticky slime. Okay? So here you have the negative energy that's emerging. And it's sticky, so it attaches people to one another. It does attach people to one another, but it's toxic. The friction turns into contention because now you have a lot of negative energy hovering around. That's just sticky, slimy energy. And this leads to infestation very quickly. Demons come and settle in the clouds of negative energy. So the dark clouds come from the human beings who operate in a state of anxiety or in the negative, and demon spirits, they nest, just like birds nest in a tree, they nest in the negative energy, often in the form of a pyramid. That's how strongholds group together. So you have these paranormal mountains that come and are formed based on the negative images of a community. Eventually, the strongholds become so strong that they now have a hold on the human community over there. Meanwhile, the tensions are escalating to this desperation. People really want to get rid of all the tension, but they don't know what to do. In a state of desperation, it's just like when you have a cloud that turns gray and it begins to thunder. Things become intense. Now, instead of negative energy, it's turned into killing energy. Now it has become very dangerous. And eventually, it will lead to some type of escalation in which there will be a massive amount of energetic release in the negative tense in the climate, and the strongholds, the demons feed off of it. In this case, the negative energy is directed at the scapegoats or the targets, where it's just a single individual or a group of people. And because of this, the whole population is relieved from the toxic energy, and the victims either die or they are harmed for life, mentally, physically, or emotionally, due to the psychic attacks. So now the demons hang around the target because that's where they gather their energy from. And then there's ease. There's relief again. And then the cycle starts over and over again. That's how the paranormal traps human population in a state of anxiety. That's how society works. And the sellouts from that human community are the ones that serve those paranormal parasites or demons. They keep those paranormal mountains alive, if you can call it that way, and the population complies, often without being aware of it, because they don't want to examine themselves. This is the cycle of society. This is it. I've explained this before. When Christ said that by faith you can move mountains, he was referring to these paranormal strongholds. And he was referring to the negative contention that's generated by worldly people. By your own physical strength, you can't do that because you may end up as a target. By your mental strength, you can't do that because you'll end up in a mental asylum because you can't handle that. You can't do it by yourself. You need his power, and when you walk in his power, you will speak against contention, you will speak against strongholds that haunt an environment, and it will leave. Now, don't get me wrong here. It's the people that keep these things going. So you can remove a mountain, and soon another mountain will come because people remain negative. But nevertheless, your faith is effective. The only way those paranormal mountains will disappear completely is when the people turn to Christ and they don't operate in a state of anxiety anymore. But many won't. So as a believer, you'll need to walk in the power to move these mountains. Okay? It's important for you to know how this cycle works. The leaders of this world know this. They're the ones that keep this thing going. So, when you are in a community, pay attention to the signs. Christ said that it's important to pay attention to the signs of the times. What did Christ mean by that? He wants to talk about when he returns. Christ said if you see certain clouds, you know it's about to rain. Why can't you discern the signs of the times? Remember what I did here? I explained the water cycle. Christ spoke about this cycle when he talked about when you see the clouds, you can see it's about to rain. So Christ told them you can discern the weather. Why can't you discern the signs of the times? So what he meant with that is this. Whatever community you're in, whether it's a community in Japan or in Zimbabwe or in Latin America, it doesn't matter. Pay attention to the signs of the times. Because this cycle is going on all the time in the world. In every society. This is society. Are you in this? Is the community around you in this phase Then you know the contention is coming, so now you can anticipate it. Oh, is it in the desperation phase? Now you know that sooner or later someone's about to die or a group of people are about to die. Now you can anticipate that also. If it's this state, then you know, don't hold on to it. Don't be deceived by it. Pay attention to the sign of the times. Okay? Christ told us to do that. Christ told us to be alert. Well, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.